It's certainly nothing new for the Detroit Tigers to be an embarrassment. In 2003, they finished with the worst record in the modern era, winning only 43 games. In 2019, they won 47 games, bottoming out 3 years into their rebuild. Now, in 2022, as they're coming off a promising 2021 campaign that saw them play 5 months of competent baseball, they're an absolute dumpster fire. They sit at 37-55 at the All-Star break. 2018 first overall pick Casey Mize had Tommy John surgery in June. 2020 first overall pick Spencer Torkelson was just sent back to AAA, and not much of anything else has gone right for them either. So where does the blame go? Some of it has to be on general manager Al Avila, whose disastrous 2017 deadline trades made little to no progress on speeding up the rebuild. None of the returns for JD Martinez, Justin Verlander, or Justin Upton have paid off in any meaningful way yet. Partly due to bad luck in the case of Franklin Perez being unable to stay healthy, but bad luck has been a bit of a theme during this rebuild. We touched on Casey Mize's injury earlier, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. 2016 first-round pick Matt Manning was off to a promising start this year, before suffering an injury that refuses to stop flaring up in his rehab attempts. Spencer Turnbull threw a no-hitter, and was on course for a 5-WAR season in 2021 before Tommy John shut him down. Top-priced free agent signing Eduardo Rodriguez disappeared from the team just before returning from his rehab assignment due to a marital issue, and the team hasn't been able to get in contact with him since. This doesn't even mention Riley Green's broken foot to start the season, Austin Meadows' list of injuries that reads like he was cursed by a wizard, and even injuries in the farm system like the ones to hitting prospects Colt Keith and Ryan Kreidler. Avila can't be blamed for injuries, but other teams have been more injured before and had the depth to persevere, which you would expect to have in year 5 of a rebuild. While Avila is the current scapegoat for the Tigers fanbase, Tigers Twitter specifically, he's not solely to blame for 2022's failures. AJ Hinch, for all the goodwill he earned last year, has not lived up to the hype this season. His cookie-cutter manager quotes every time he's questioned about the team's performance grew old in May, and they're even more tiresome now. The main gripe with Hinch's managing job in 2022, though, has been his refusal to fire Scott Coolbaugh. Who's Scott Coolbaugh? He's the hitting coach for the Detroit Tigers. The hitting coach? I thought their problems came from all their pitching injuries. You would be wrong. They've scored 288 runs this season, less than every other team in the league. They've hit only 53 home runs, lowest in the league by a staggering 16. At this point last season, a Tigers team with much less power on paper had hit 101 home runs. Think about that. Through 92 games, a Tigers lineup that prominently featured Zach Short, no offense, and Derek Hill, no offense, hit almost twice as many home runs as a lineup that added Javier Baez, Austin Meadows, Spencer Torkelson, and Riley Green. The 2021 Tigers through 92 games scored 379 runs. Remember that number from earlier? Yeah, this year's Tigers have scored over 100 fewer runs than last season's through the same number of games. And last year they played fewer innings due to 7-inning doubleheaders. Okay, so the offense is bad even though they improved on paper. How much of that can really be Coolbaugh's fault? Wasn't he the hitting coach last year too? That's the weird part. He was. And to be honest, I've never played anything resembling Major League Baseball, so I don't really know how much of a difference the hitting coach makes. But I do know that if I did something for 92 days and my results were among the worst in the centuries-long history of my job, I would have been fired already. And honestly, it's just the only explanation that makes any sense to me. MLB players slump. Sometimes a whole team slumps, but not like this. These aren't the 2019 Tigers. That team ran out guys like Dawel Lugo, Brandon Dixon, and Jordy Mercer on an everyday basis. This team is full of actual MLB players. Good MLB players. And these are the results they're getting. Let's dive into the numbers a bit. In 2021, Jeimer Candelario led the entire American League with 42 doubles. Many of those were thanks to his 28.9 line drive percentage, meaning almost 29% of his batted balls were hit on a line. This, coupled with his 39.1% hard hit rate, led to a lot of balls either hit into the cavernous gaps at Comerica Park or down the lines that could be legged out for extra base hits. In 2022, Jeimer Candelario has a line drive percentage of just 24.9, down an entire 4%. That's a lot. His fly ball rate, another type of batted ball conducive to extra base hits and therefore runs, is down another 3%. This problem is synonymous with that of the Tigers as a whole. They've traded everything that good offenses do for contact. Any type of contact. They have a strikeout rate of 23.5%, far from the worst in baseball. They strike out less than Atlanta, and at the same rate as above-average offenses like Milwaukee and Tampa Bay. Their strikeout number, contrary to what rickety old geezers on Twitter would lead you to believe, isn't the problem. The problem is that in order to bring their K rate down from last year's 25.3%, good for third highest in the league, they've sacrificed everything else. Their walk rate sits at 6.7%, the second worst in baseball in front of only the White Sox. Their hard hit rate is actually only 7th worst in baseball, ahead of a few legitimately good teams like the Mariners and the Padres. The problem is, most of their hard contact is on the ground. There aren't that many runs to be found in ground balls these days. So what makes this a coaching issue? Again, I have to preface this with the fact that I have never played high-level baseball, and I don't know the daily routines of those who do. This is simply a theory as I try to figure out why every Tigers player has taken such a major step back in production. By most accounts, MLB players have what's called their A swing. It's the best swing they can take to optimize both the exit velocity and launch angle of the ball, the two main factors that create home runs. According to this 2018 study by Jim Albert that I've also linked in the description, 42% of runs in 2017 came via the home run. The correlation between hitting home runs and scoring runs is obvious, and the correlation between scoring runs and winning games should be as well. What the Tigers have done this year has been a drastic departure from the direction most MLB teams have moved in since the dawn of StatCast in the mid-2010s. Launch angle was all we heard about for a while, and with good reason. The Tigers have decided that all contact is created equal this year, settling for free swinging that creates a parade of easy ground balls rather than drawing walks and swinging for extra base hits. Robbie Grossman in 2021 finished with the 5th best walk rate in MLB, due to his patient approach and elite swing decision. He walked 10 times in his first 71 plate appearances of this season, but only 23 in the 273 plate appearances since. This has been a theme with players when they get called up to this year's team. At the start of the season, the offense was bad, but the process was good. They were walking and hitting balls in the air, just getting unlucky. This led many Tigers fans, like myself, to believe the offense would turn it around. Instead, they went hard in the opposite direction. Riley Green was called up on June 18th, and he walked 8 times in his first 9 games. He's drawn 7 walks in the 18 games since. Spencer Torkelson even drew 10 walks in his first 74 plate appearances. How many since? 19 in 224 plate appearances. Javier Baez was the Tigers' most expensive addition this offseason, and he's been the subject of a lot of criticism from Tigers fans so far. He's actually posting the lowest strikeout rate of his career, believe it or not, but that's come at a price. His ground ball rate is 52%, by far the highest of his career, and only 12.2% of his fly balls are resulting in home runs, as opposed to the over 24% marks he's posted in 3 of the last 4 seasons. I would actually take Javi striking out more if it meant he was putting his best possible swing on more baseballs. Austin Meadows was a late addition to the team, acquired just before the season from Tampa. His strikeout rate is 11.6%, down a full 9 points from his 20.6 mark in 2021. The trade-off for this, his ISO, isolated power, has plummeted from 224 to 078. He's hit plenty of singles, but not much else thanks to the contact-first approach taken by the team and its hitting staff. Meadows and Baez both have 30 home run potential, and neither of them hit double digits in the first half. In fact, Meadows still has yet to hit his first home run as a Tiger. The 2022 Tigers boast 5 players in their regular lineup that hit 20 or more home runs in 2021, plus renowned power-hitting prospect Spencer Torkelson. Those 6 players have combined for 29 home runs in 1,567 plate appearances this season, less than Javier Baez hit by himself in 547 plate appearances last year. I could be wrong, but I just find it hard to believe that all 6 guys completely forgot how to hit for power without it being drilled out of them through their daily routines and batting practice and the like. If the Tigers were fielding a league-average offense that hit a league-average amount of home runs, it's not far-fetched to say they'd be in the thick of the AL Central race with the downfall of the White Sox in the first half of the season, which makes this year's results that much more disheartening. They could be an ahead-of-schedule team battling for a playoff spot, but again they're back in the basement after acquiring good players in the offseason. I've outlined these issues with the current state of the Tigers without even mentioning their owner, that set a hard cap on how much money they could offer Carlos Correa, who turned down their offer and went to the division rival Twins, then had Avila and Hinch rave about how generous he was for agreeing to take on Austin Meadows' $4 million salary. Did I mention Chris Ilitch is the 4th richest owner in the league? However, I won't spend too much time on Ilitch because he's simply not going anywhere. He won't sell the team unless something drastically changes in the amount of money the Tigers make for him. I don't think the Tigers are a lost cause, but it's easy to see why many are losing faith. I'm not even sure what the solution is, honestly. The pitching has been great in spite of the injuries, specifically the bullpen. And while it's not the most promising idea to have Avila facilitate another trade deadline, as the Tigers will undoubtedly look to offload relievers and get players that can help the team in the near future in return, he has found success in flipping relievers in the past. I just hope the Tigers aren't another 3 years away from being 3 years away.